I think the story that stood out the most in my mind had you putting a lit Roman candle down his pants.
I mean, allegedly. I don't know.
Allegedly.
I don't know if I had anything to do with it.
It sounds like you missed your calling as a politician, Gary. Welcome back to another episode of EventSpeak with me, Big John, CEO of Beyond Experiential. I think at this point, it's safe to say you guys know what this show's about. And if you don't, and you're new to the show, well, thanks for coming by. And if you've seen it before and you are like, yeah, Big John, I kind of know what's up, then we thank you. But for those of you that don't know, we're an interview show. I'm good at speaking words from my mouth, so therefore we like to talk to people. And we talk to people across the all-inclusive event ecosystem. So while EventSpeak was born and raised in the event marketing, brand marketing, experiential business, we've expanded. And as any of you know me well, know that I come up in music. I spent 11 years of my life on the greatest festival tour of all time, the Vans Warped Tour. And today's guest is my brother. I don't even want to call him my friend. We go back a very long time. We lived and sweated blood together on the Warped Tour for many years. And Mr. Gary Foster has come a long way into now a professional drummer. And he's joining us from, it sounds like a hot and humid New York. So Gary, thanks for coming on the show and welcome to EventSpeak, my good man.
Big John. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you guys doing out there?
Well, it's as good as we can. You know, it's hot and crazy out here, but everything is good.
Well, you know, alive and well, and Gary has a little boy named Roman. How old is Roman?
He's going to be 3 in August.
Going to be 3 in August, and his lovely wife Crystal. And you guys are in Rochester.
Yeah, Rochester.
Why did I want to say Buffalo? I know it's not Buffalo because
it's right near Buffalo.
It's near Buffalo, right? So that means if you're watching and you've been to Rochester, then you already know what a garbage plate is. Trash plate.
Garbage plate's like the official name, but then I think that's what Nick Tahoe's has copyrighted. But a lot of the places around here do.
They've copywritten
it. Rubbish plate, dumpster plate. Yeah.
When I was out on tour last year, guys, and I had a stopover in Rochester, and Gary and his family had me over for dinner, and we hung out. And earlier in that day, he took me for a garbage plate. Gary, tell us what a garbage plate is, because I'm sure everyone's dying to know.
It's a heart attack in a styrofoam container. It's like it's 2 cheeseburgers or hot dogs, or as I like it, like a burger and a hot dog. And then they put that on there's a base of macaroni salad and fried potatoes or French fries or baked beans, and then they put the meat on top of that, and then they cover it in like a meat hot sauce with onions and mustard. And it sounds really gross, but it's really amazing. Actually, Jim Gaffigan, the comedian, was in Rochester not too long ago and experienced it, and then ended up doing like a couple of videos on it, and like a cooking video. He made one at home during quarantine, and it was pretty hilarious. Like,
that's awesome.
Of all the things that we have coming out of Rochester, everybody says garbage plate, especially bands.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's the ultimate late night drunk food, hangover food, probably ever invented. And I will testify that it is quite delicious. Yeah. So, as I mentioned, Gary is a pro drummer. Gary, I'm sure you can speak to something that a lot of people right now in any capacity of the event world are all trying to figure out is how are you navigating through these very uncertain times where the entire arena of how we all typically make our livings is temporarily on hold for the unforeseeable future. Tell me what that's like for you and what you're doing to sort of get through that.
Well, at first especially being in New York, like everything kind of came to a head here very quickly. And so once I found out everything was canceled, like I was supposed to go on tour 3 days prior to the lockdown happening, and I was going to be gone for like close to 3 months. So that obviously got canceled, and we pretty much just buckled down and kind of rode the wave here and just worked on being a family, and I didn't think about music at all. And then once when we're kind of understanding the disease a little bit more, or the virus, and what was happening, I was kind of able to start focusing back on performing again, and getting some stuff done that I needed to do at the house in order to do that. So we gutted the basement and built a recording studio, and I've been tracking a record right now. I'm currently like halfway through it with a band that I play with from Los Angeles called the Bad Dreamers. And so their new records, we're making that right now. And it's been very exciting. And it's kind of put some more wind in my sails, because, it's been hard, and the thing that's so strange is that it's not just one area, it's the whole world. So it's been as difficult as it's been. It also hasn't been horrible, because I'm not sitting at home wishing that I was working. Like, nobody can do this right now, so you don't have that. Yep. I get really anxious if I'm not active and I'm constantly doing stuff. So knowing that nobody else is doing it is, as selfish as that sounds, like it's been easier for me to cope and manage that.
Oh, I totally hear you, man. I totally hear you, because, I feel like from professional drummers to people in the production world, to people in the brand marketing world, our lives are very similar. We kind of live
Sure.
we live gig to gig. And it's always the thing when like you can check, EventSpeak or a Facebook group, and you see what everybody else is doing, and you're like, man, I really need to get out there and get myself a job, or whatever the case is. But as it stands right now, the entire industry is taking this breath together. But, I think what you just said, that you're in the process of making a record from a band in Los Angeles, the Bad Dreamers, and here you out in Rochester, New York. And because of technology, we're able to really stay connected and do a lot more. Yeah. And stay able to keep music flowing. I feel like it's something that, as anybody watching the show knows, and personally, that I manage state to state, and we're taking this time to really make sure that the foundation of our social media and our digital marketing approach is in 400% alignment, but also taking the time to write and put some new music out into the world, because it's nothing but time now. But I think it's important, Gary, I'm sure you would agree that time is going to come sooner than people think, in some perspective, that it's going to flip back, because not all states are on the same trajectory of opening. Some are moving a bit slower, and some are moving a bit faster. And I feel like there's going to be more happening. Now, I thought I'd mention this to you just because I found it very interesting that this was happening. And it's kind of in your neck of the woods, but the Launch Music Festival that's taking place in mid-July in Pennsylvania is actually still happening.
Really?
We had gotten invited to play it, state to state, that is, but unfortunately the tour we had booked around it obviously got canceled. So, we're not doing it. We're just part of the virtual experience. Which
you're not going to drive 2,000 miles for a one-off?
Nah, we decided against it. So, we're very grateful to our friends at Launch for inviting us, and it's kind of cool that they're kind of handshaking the event with a virtual performance aspect of it. I admit I'm a little middle of the road if I think that's too soon kind of a thing yet, because they implore that they're practicing social distancing and doing everything to be preventing COVID-19 spread kind of a thing. But it's just I think too soon for such a thing. But it is happening. Which my point being is that clearly it's going to be coming faster than later, because as you know, with with our business, Gary, it's a thing where it takes a good 6 months to a year for these festivals and these tours to get planned. So now is the time to sort of do that. On that note, you have a very interesting background. Aside from, the years on the road that you spent and years that you spent professionally playing in bands that had record deals and going out and doing what you did, you then took a bow for a while and became an EMT, right?
I did. Back in around 2011, I was in a band called the Sunstreak, and we were on EMI, and our deal had dissolved, and everybody was kind of going off in their own direction. And I was still playing. I did a couple of tours after that, but I was really kind of burnt out. We had some illness in the family. My mom, unfortunately, passed away in 2010. And my dad at the time was also pretty ill. And it was really time to just be home and focus on myself recovering from this, horrible loss in our family and kind of refocusing on things. So I went back to school and I became an EMT. And I did that for up until right before my son was born. So 2017 was when I was able to get back into music. I was very fortunate to get an offer to join a band, and I was able to get back into that, which was the best thing that ever happened to me.
It sounds like, knowing you as well as I do, it sounds like you needed to sort of step out of something that you literally has been part of your DNA and your blood your whole life. And you definitely, I feel that you got a taste of success that not a lot of artists and musicians do. And understandably so, as it went upside down on you, you got burned out.
Yeah, just like anything,
Would you say that the experience of being an EMT helped you appreciate going back into music? And did it make you a better drummer? Did it make you a better band member? Tell me about that.
I can tell you that being an EMT there were so many similarities to being in a band and being on the road, because you're in a van. Most of our ambulances that I was on were vans. You're on there for 12 hours, so it's just like being on the road on a long drive. You're with people that have real wild sense of humors. There's all sorts of characters that you work with and that you see between EMS and the fire departments and the police departments and the hospitals. I mean, it's just a lot of great people. And there's, a lot of downtime and then like an hour of excitement and then back to downtime again. So in that aspect, I used to tell people all the time when they'd ask me what it was like being on tour, it's like sitting in the ambulance right now, just telling stories. And so, in that aspect, it was very easy to kind of adjust into that lifestyle. And then, I started off as just like a road EMT and then worked my way through the company and became an officer there. So I had a lot more responsibility, and it really taught me how to be very organized and, very on top of things and being able to juggle a million different things in an emergency setting. So you really learn how to control your emotions and your reaction to things and really think about things really clearly when you're stressed out. And that is something that I am so grateful that I was able to pick up that skill and really develop that. It's made me a better musician. It's, as far as, retaining music, connecting with people, working, I think that's been detrimental to being able to continue to do this again. And it also made me really take a look at life differently. And, before, as you know, I was pretty crazy, wild road dog. I was pretty out there. And I'm very lucky that I'm still just sitting here, very grateful.
Yeah.
So, that kind of, it definitely made me understand and appreciate all the good and the bad that comes with life. Seeing people, people don't call 911 because, you know, they're bored and they want some company. They call because they're having the worst day of their life. And you are lucky enough to be called upon them to service them and help them in any way that you can. And sometimes there's a great outcome, and sometimes, you know, there's, you know, very unfortunate outcomes. And, you know, that got very hard. And I'm grateful that I don't have to do that anymore, because with my son, I mean, it makes me worry enough as it is having to chase him around all the time, let alone, you know,
Sure.
being around all that other stuff.
To be kind of staring life and death in the face every day, I can only imagine. Let's talk a little bit about the transformation of you as someone like myself. Again, anyone that probably knows us collectively knows we were pretty freaking crazy in our crazy time. And you know, no regrets. I mean, such great stories to tell. And the fact that we're both out on the other side of it now makes it okay. I think if we were still living that way, it'd probably be kind of a, you know, eyebrow raise sort of a thing. But for you, I think the story that stood out the most in my mind, and I knew you at the time, but I didn't know you like I know you now, but it was Warped Tour, the infamous scene in the lunch line when you and Bert from the Used were up to your shenanigans. And I want to say this particular incident had found you putting a lit Roman candle down his pants. And just, you know, like all this craziness and ruckus and just, you know, and the funny part is that once everybody realized it was you and Bert, like everyone was like, oh yeah, it's Gary and Bert.
I mean, allegedly, I don't know.
Allegedly.
I don't know if I can confirm that or deny that. You know, I do remember though that the very next year on Warped Tour, the fireworks were forbidden. I remember that, but I don't know if I had anything to do with it, or Bert.
It sounds like you missed your calling as a politician, Gary. But with that said, also you lost a bunch of weight. You know, how much weight did you end up losing, and how did you do that?
Okay, so towards the end of my career in EMS and right before my son was born, I was up to 242 pounds. I was on 2 blood pressure medications because the job was just incredibly stressful, and, you know, I wasn't taking good care of myself. There's, you know, a lot of downtime, and I was also in school full time. So it was like 100 hours a week of just going 110%. You know, it was just, so I put on a lot of weight and just felt like I was going to die every day. Like it was horrible. So when I started playing in the other band and we had Roman, I decided right then and there, I'm not going to live like this anymore. This is unacceptable for me, and this is not how I want to lead by example, you know, for my son or for my family or for the people around me. So the first thing that I did was I stopped drinking. I just made the decision, like, you know, this is not helping me. I was having some issues with the blood pressure medication, and like, you know, even drinking like a beer, I'd have arrhythmias, and it was very unsettling. So I cut that out first and foremost. And then I just started exercising. A guy that I used to work with, his wife is a personal trainer, and she had some fitness classes, and I called her and I was like, hey, can you help me start this off? Like I need to figure out what I'm doing. And it was great. So I started going to these classes with them, and we brought Roman, and we started working out as a family. And I just changed my diet. I did some research and what I thought was going to work for me. And I ended up losing, I think I put a little bit of weight on during this quarantine, but only because I've been like lifting weights like crazy to help manage stress. But I'm down like 98 pounds. Last time I checked, this morning I was 155. So,
wow, dude, that's amazing.
Yeah, but it fluctuates like here or there depending. But I eat the same stuff all the time, and you know, no carbs. So that's pretty much it.
I admire you, Gary. Like I have been varying sizes of Big John for most of my life. And you said something to me when I was visiting you last fall. Actually, no, I take that back. You were out here visiting me. You were in LA when we did karaoke that night.
Oh yeah, that was so much fun.
That was such a good time.
What was the name of that place again?
Originally, it was called Sardo's, which is a very, very famous place. And then at the time that we went there, and I don't even think that place survived. Oh, geez. I can't think of it. It was some kind of a chicken joint, but it was essentially Sardo's.
It was so cool,
name.
though. I had so much fun.
Such a good time. Porn star karaoke. I mean, you got to love that, right?
Yeah,
like
that was
porn
great.
stars singing karaoke. I mean, who could argue? What you said to me, though, it stuck with me. And despite the fact that, yes, I too have put on a bit of weight through the pandemic, but it isn't from lifting weights. It was more like lifting, a hoagie. You said it's the greatest gift you can give yourself. And yeah. I really think that is, it is the truth. So with all that said, man, so from the journey of, a rock and roll life up to becoming an EMT, to becoming a dad and a husband, losing your mom and dad, and just having, this incredible journey that has made you the wonderful person that you are today. I'm curious now that we're at this interesting point, right? Where clearly the pandemic isn't over yet, but we've clearly turned a corner. And while the future is still uncertain, where do you see yourself in the next 6 months to a year? What are you hoping is the light at the end of the tunnel for Gary Foster, the drummer?
Well, I hope that they continue to develop, a vaccine for this. I think that would definitely speed up the process of being able to tour and for venues to be able to open to full capacity. I think that's, a big thing. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed there. I can see outdoor festivals happening much sooner than, enclosed venues, which is so sad to me, and my heart goes out. I mean, I just wrapped up a tour at the end of February, and we played all these amazing venues, and I see on all their Instagrams, there's all these fundraisers to help keep them open, and my heart just breaks, and I hope that this can turn around. So that's weighing heavy on my mind, and so I'm really keeping my fingers crossed for that. And in the meantime, I'm recording this record, and I've got some other session work that I'm doing, and I'm doing lessons online. Anything that I can to keep me busy and occupied. And who knows where we'll be in a year. But I just saw my family outside of my wife and son last weekend for the first time in months, and it was wonderful. And my uncle, who is a huge music fan, asked me, what do you think's going to happen? What are people doing right now? Where's music going to be? And I told him, I was like, I think music's going to be better than you've ever heard it before. I think there's going to be a renaissance in music with everything that's happened this year alone. It's inspiring people to write and dig deep in their hearts and, really explore, because all people have is time on their hands right now. Yeah. If they're not working, or even if they are working, I'm sure people are writing heavily. And I know from just my group of friends and the guys that I tour with and all these different bands, I stay in touch with all of them to just check on them and make sure everybody's doing well. Everybody's writing, and I have to believe that they're not the only ones that are doing it. So I think that we're going to see some really great stuff, and I think that that's going to really help improve everybody's quality of life. I mean, I know music, how important music is to you, and what it does to all of us to keep everybody sane. And so I hope that we get a lot of awesome music in the next year, and I hope that I can tour as much as possible once everything is safe to do that again. So that's where I see myself in a year, is hopefully we'll be talking about this on a bus or on an RV or something, or like let's see, it's June right now. Maybe we'll be at a big festival, you know, laughing about all this crazy stuff and, you know, being grateful for, you know, being able to do that again.
I will look forward to that, Gary, you know, and by that point, our brand new EventSpeak studio here that you're officially the 3rd episode in, we'll have to have you live in the studio and come in and talk with us. But, you know, man, I agree with you 100%. You know, that's definitely something that I feel like next year is going to be the year for music and the year for events, because everybody that I've talked to, just alone on the platform of this show, everyone that I've talked to around the world, they're spinning their collective webs of what's coming next. And it's going to be a big flood of stuff happening once we get to that point where there is a vaccine and it's widely distributed and we've got proof that, you know, essentially we can defeat this virus. But in the meantime, it's time to take advantage of the time we have at home, the time that we have with our loved ones and our families, and a time to be introspective and do a lot of what folks like yourself have done, and that's just evolve and grow. And, you know, from my heart, I love you, and I'm happy to see that you're doing well and that, you know, the family's doing well. Please send my best to Crystal and Roman, and to anybody out there, Gary, that would like to check in on what you're up to. And you post all kinds of cool videos on your Instagram too, playing the drums and doing what you do. Where can people find you?
So the best platform for me would be Instagram, and that's Gary Smash. It's Gary_Smash. And yeah, that's where you can find me. That's where we can find you. And he does smash. For sure. You're just, dude, on a quick footnote, the first time I ever saw you play the drums, I was like, wow, how are those drum heads just not exploding? How are those cymbals just not exploding? And done with finesse at the same time, Gary. You're as good of a drummer as you are a friend. So Gary Foster, everybody, thanks for coming by the show, Gary. And you can find him on the Instagram at Gary_Smash. And in the meantime, this is still EventSpeak, and I'm still Big John. You're at www.eventspeak.com. And until we meet again, which will be shortly, I'm pretty sure, please remember to take care of yourselves and each other.